Indo-Indians online event. And this is something which is useful to everybody, to all parents, whatever be the age of your children. So this is a parenting workshop presented by Shareen Ratnani. Shareen is an educator. She's also a trainer. And she has a whole lot of many accolades and trainings and certificates to her name. She's a passionate early childhood educator, parenting coach, teacher trainer, workshop presenter, and of course, a lifelong learner. And she's here with the Kiddie Planet preschools and schools. And she has helped train many teachers and is now currently doing many parenting workshops. So thank you, Shareen, for sharing your knowledge with all of us. We also have with us Jyoti Chawla. Jyoti Chawla herself is a parent of twins, young twins, and she has been very diligent in her study of how to do parenting right, about childhood education, etc. And she will be the facilitator for this event. So thank you, Jyoti, for doing this, and welcome.
Thank you, Poonam.
So
should take it forward.
Over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. I cannot see Shareen.
Oh, okay. Can you see me now?
Yes, very much. Thank you and welcome to be on this show, Shareen. It's always lovely to have you here. As Poonam very rightly said, those were all beautiful things about Shareen as an educator and a trainer. But I've known Shareen from Jakarta days, and I just find her a very pleasant and very easy to communicate person. So when she speaks, it doesn't look like she's trying to tell you what's right, what's wrong, but she does it in a very beautiful way, and I appreciate that. She's a mother of young kids herself. And so
we can see Ayan in the background. Wonderful. Hi, Ayan.
So he is hungry and he's okay. Can you tell her to put it on the table for you, please? Sorry about that. So his lunch was 5 minutes delayed, and anyway, so coming back, and it's always been a great experience. My first workshop with Shareen was on 5 languages of love. And I still have that book, and I keep going back to that book and thoroughly enjoyed it. So really looking forward to today. And Shareen, why don't you walk us through what you're going to do in this next hour?
Right. Thank you so much, Jyoti, and thank you, Poonam, for the kind words. Yes, I'm a mother. I would love to say I'm a mother to 2 young kids. My kids are now 20 and 17, not so young anymore. But yes, you said something that really struck me, Jyoti, and that is when I do talk to parents, I don't try and tell them what's right and wrong, because there is no right and wrong. As a parent, you know best. So if you're going to pick up a parenting manual, or you're going to even listen to me today, I might tell you these are researched tools that you can use, but still, as a parent, you know best, because the instinct that you have with your children just cannot be replaced by even the best parenting coach in the world. So that's a shout out to every parent out there. Please don't, I mean, research is research. It's man-made, it's out there. It's generally done with, groups around the world, but there is a difference. So please use your gut instinct as the most important thing. And what I'm going to share with you today is called Parenting Gems. I'm going to share the screen so we can get started. Yeah, right. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about parenting gems. And the reason I call them parenting gems is because I've actually, from all the work that I've been doing, picked out these tools. And I find them like little treasures which can be used on a day-to-day basis with children of all ages. I tend to particularly talk with a focus on young children because my schools cater to young children. However, I also use these with my 20 and my 17-year-olds. So definitely you can use them across the whole spectrum.
That's good to know that these rules are not really age limited.
No, they're not. You can even use them with your spouses sometimes. Right. Okay. So, when I grew up in South India in Bangalore. And I used to always see people doing that in the temples. And I just assumed, oh, that, they are asking for forgiveness. And all my life, I believed, okay, that that's what they were doing. Until about last year, when I got a forwarded message, which actually claimed that this is super brain yoga. And when you do this, it actually energizes your brain and helps you to focus. So it was something completely new. It was new learning. And that's what happens with us in life. We assume, we believe, and then we realize, okay, no, we got to be open to learning, because there's so much that we're, even with parenting, we're assuming that we should parent the way our parents did it. But no, we can't believe that's the right thing. So we got to be open to learning. Now, because we started the Super Brain Yoga, maybe we can start with it. So we're all energized this afternoon. Okay, so let's just stand up and do it 3 times and see if it makes you actually feel so energized. All right.
What are you supposed to do?
So take your hands left to right, stand up and go down 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Actually, 2 more times. 4 and 5.
Why does it feel like punishment?
I think it's an assumption that it's a punishment, because children were made to do it in schools. So what you probably have in your mind, you've linked it with school punishments or things like this. However, research shows that whenever you do any exercise with a crisscross, you are actually crossing your midline. And when you do this, you're stimulating both the hemispheres of your brain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a great thing. Anything that you do, whether you do that or you do anything that is crossing, it's great for brain stimulation. So you can do it with your kids anytime, right?
Good to know. Very good to know.
So I have a question actually to ask you. Would you beat your child in public? Or would you shame your child on social media?
No.
Never. But still, sometimes we do it at home. As parents, we blame, we pain, we shame children at home, and we think it's okay. But why wouldn't you do it out in public?
I guess people have this concern that they're getting judged.
Absolutely. All right. So we're very selfish. We don't want to get judged. We want to seem like we are the perfect parents. But you know what? We're not perfect parents. Yeah. There is no perfect parent and there is no perfect child. We're just progressive. We're learning. Right. And this is what we need to be able to come out and be aware of. That if you are beating your child at home, it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. You need to address it. So as a parent, think as if you are always exposed, and will help you in your own parenting.
So, Shareen, a lot of parents I see have a different behavior at home with a child and a different behavior when they're in a public forum,
Absolutely.
whether in a play area or in anybody else's house or even in the elevator.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, true that.
Because they feel they're getting very judged. Yes. And it's actually what you do at home with your children is very important, because that's where they're spending most of the time. And I just want to show you some of these words. Okay, how many of you have used a disapproving tone? Slapped your children, hurried your children, nagged them, compared them, threatened them, frightened them, blamed them? How many? I think all of us have done something like that.
Sometime or the other, yeah.
Right? So, and whenever you do something like that, you're getting your child's brain to go into that lower. You're getting your child to have that amygdala attack where it's going into fear and flight mode. So the child is feeling threatened. And this is where even some children scream and say, I hate you. It's not that they hate you. They hate what they are feeling because of what they're going through. And they don't know what to say. They don't know how to say they hate what you did. So they say they hate you. And then parents take that very personally and it becomes a whole ripple thing. So what happens when children feel threatened is they start to defy, blame, defend, explain. Some children act apathetic, no feelings. They just sit there and they have no feelings. Okay, and that is actually the brain feeling threatened. Some get aggressive, they hit, they bite, and some will just listen to everything that you say. So you got to be careful if you've got a child who's overly compliant and just saying yes to everything that you say. There's a danger in that, because you don't want this child to grow up in high school saying yes to everything that somebody else says. So watch out for these symptoms. And what I want to say is, just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped, the actions individuals have far-reaching effects. So whatever you do, just be careful, because if you notice, you start arguing and it becomes a whole power struggle, right? So one thing leads to another and it just goes on and on. So it's important to be very mindful where you are before you throw that stone, because that stone is going to have a ripple effect. If you're going to be loving and warm, you're going to create that ripple effect. If you're going to throw a stone of negativity, you're going to create that ripple effect. And this is from the Center of Developing Child from Harvard University, which says that if a child is preoccupied with fears or anxiety or is dealing with stress, no matter how intellectually gifted that child may be, learning is going to be impaired. And unfortunately, we think that it's only adults who go through stress. No, children are going through a lot of stress. So the next time your child is misbehaving, throwing these tantrums, whining, not listening to you, just doing all of this, you've got to stop and realize that that child is going through stress and that child needs you. If you do not attend to that child, then that stress is going to develop into grief. And then that's how we hear of pressure and suicides and all of these other things. So let's recognize that even a young child can go through stress. And what do we do? I just want you to reflect on this. Does yelling at your child teach him to be respectful to others?
No.
Yet we do it. Does spanking your child teach her how to show compassion or generosity? Does buying a toy for good grades teach him how to be self-motivated?
Definitely not.
Does cleaning your child's room or picking up help him to be self-sufficient? Still, as parents, we do these things because we just don't know. Many of us don't know what to do. And that is why I've started doing a lot of these parenting workshops, because I feel there are tools we can equip ourselves. You know, I think parenting is the hardest job. So those parents who say, you know, I'm a housewife, I applaud you. It's the hardest. It's harder to be at home with your kids and look after them than just leave your kids at home and go and work. It's easier to work than to be a full-time mom to your kids, because there's a lot you will be needing to do. So I believe that we need to be intentional parents, and parenting really begins with you, and your children are being you. Realize that whatever you say and do, at the end of the day, when your children are 18 and they go to university, there's not much you can do with them then. They have already gotten the roots and the wings to fly, and they are going to make their decisions and live their lives based on what you actually did with them as young children. And this is about, actually, I've been studying a little bit about mirror neurons, because your energy makes a huge difference. So often we have children who start school and they're crying and they don't settle easily. And we realize that it's the mom who's very anxious. So when you are very anxious, you are giving out these mirror neurons. The brain can actually feel. And that is exactly, this is what explains why when you walk into a room with 10 people, why is it that you just feel comfortable to be around person A or B? You know, there's some mirror neurons that is making you feel that niceness. So be careful that if you're anxious and if you're stressed, you are giving it to your children. Not only physically, now it's been proven even across the globe. And I tried this. I was talking to my mom when she was in Bangalore and she yawned and I yawned immediately. So I'm like, how did that happen? So obviously our brains, the mirror neurons work very well. So before I start with the 10 tools, I just want to let you know that all behavior, whether it is child or even human behavior, all behavior is communication. Everything that you see is just a tip of the iceberg, and everything is coming from what is deep down. Whether the child's needs are being fulfilled, whether the child has all his fears, whether he has fears, everything is coming from deep inside. So, what we have to work on is that deep part of the iceberg. Yes, all behaviors, communication. So even when you scream at your children, right? When you scream at your children, or even you scream at your spouse, think about it. You are doing it because one of your needs is not being fulfilled. Either you're not feeling loved, or some part of you, something inside, deep inside, is hurting. And that's why you are behaving. So as parents, what we need to try and do is don't just try and handle the behavior. So if your child is crying, don't say, don't cry. When you say don't cry, you are not going to the root cause, right? So look at behavior, acknowledge it, and go dive deep in. That's a whole different workshop, which I'm not covering, but what I'm going to tell you is the different tools that we can use to handle the behavior that we see. And just to make it easier, I want you to actually try and imagine that we have these buckets in us. One bucket has needs, the other one is, as human beings, we all want power, we want responsibility, we want to be in control. We all need attention, and we need belonging or a sense of significance. And if any of these buckets are not filled, you will see misbehavior, right? So most of the behavior is goal intended, and these are the most common human goals. So children do things either to feel that belonging, that sense of attention, they want some power or unmet. So if you keep filling these buckets, there are huge chances you will not see misbehavior. So what we want is a selfie child. You want to build children who are self-regulating. You want, at the end, when they're going to university, you want them to be self-monitoring and self-correcting. You want them to be that selfie child. And that is what, whatever age your parents are, I'm sorry, your children are, they need you. Even a 20-year-old child needs you. Okay, so keep in mind that everything that you're doing is going to have an impact. Right. So what is discipline? Before I start these tools, I just want to get this definition straight. The goal of discipline is to guide, to teach, to inform, and to instruct. It is not to punish the child. And when I say punish, I don't mean physical punishment. I mean even verbal. So if you're screaming, yelling, blaming your child, it is also verbal punishment, right? So the next time you encounter an argument with your child or something that is not right, ask yourself if what I am doing with my child is discipline or not. If it is not guiding, instructing, informing, teaching, then you're damaging your child. So everything that is wrong, every time something goes wrong or you have an issue, use it as a teaching moment. Take in those gems and you make it a teaching moment to have those selfie children. So I'm going straight into these gems. I call them positive discipline gems, as genuine encounter moments, because they really are moments that can make your relationship with your child great. So the first thing is offering choices, right? Wherever you can, you offer choices, because when you offer choices, you're filling that bucket of, which bucket are you filling?
Giving him the space to choose.
Yeah, and so which bucket? There are those 4 buckets, right? It's filling the bucket of power. Power, right? So because you're giving them choices, they are filling that bucket, and it's going to obviously make them feel very good about it. So wherever you can, Just give a choice, and I'll show you the kinds of choices that you can give. So offering choices gives children more control, even with older children. Just try and be aware and offer them choices. Now, what kind of choices can we give children? You can ask them something as simple as, do you want to wear your red shirt or you want to wear your yellow shirt, right? Or you can even ask them, how do you want to do it? You know, do you want to do your homework here, or do you want to do your homework there, or do you want to walk to the car, or shall we tiptoe to the car, right? How many? Okay, do you want to have 2 pieces of chicken, or you want to have 6 pieces of chicken, whatever they're eating, right? Do you want mom to read you a book, or do you want dad to read you a book? What color? Those are the simple things that you can use every day, but you don't realize what it's doing is filling up your child's bucket of power. And that is going to give him very high self-esteem. Be careful. Don't tell children, right? Okay, so with older children, if you tell them which restaurant do you want to go to, they might tell you, right, okay, I want to go to whatever. I want to go to XYZ. And then you say, no, we can't go to XYZ. And you get into a conflict. So give them a controlled choice. Okay, so would you prefer to go to a restaurant A, or would you prefer to go to restaurant B? Would you prefer to eat this or that? So a controlled choice is giving them control and power, and yet it's going to work well for both. Okay? So that's the first gem. The second gem is show and tell. Okay, like I said, children are being you, and the mirror neurons are huge. It takes the energy of one person to just make the whole home feel terrible. One person in your home is angry or unhappy or stressed, you can just feel that at home, right? So it's very important to be mindful, be able to regulate, and actually that's why mindfulness has become such a big thing now, because mindfulness is helping us control all of this. It's very interesting, you know, there was also our children become who we are. So be who you want them to be. So there was an experiment conducted by a group of Japanese moms and some other Western moms, I think. So what they did was they had their kids build a pyramid. So the moms were showing the children how to build a pyramid. What the Japanese moms did, they actually built the pyramid and showed the children how to build a pyramid. And they found that these Japanese kids, when they were building the pyramid, when they built it and it fell, they were able to rebuild it. Whereas the other group, the moms just gave them instructions and said, you know, do this and do this. And those children, when they were building their pyramid, when it fell down, they didn't know how to self-regulate. They didn't know how to correct. So that's why it's very important, instead of just telling children, be what you want them to be, role play it, because that's what they need. Even when you don't realize, I mean, I just like this picture where, you know, you're complaining about the traffic and the child sitting at the back can feel that energy. So just be very mindful of your energy in front of your children. Right. The third tool, this is my favorite tool, is connect to correct. So when a child is feeling stressed, or even your spouse or anyone is feeling stressed, and you tell them to do something, they're not going to listen to you. So when your child is throwing a tantrum and you're going to try and tell your child, forget it, it's not going to happen, because their rational brain is not working, the thinking brain is not working. It is the emotional brain that is fully working. So it will not allow you to think rationally. No point. So the first thing is to connect with your child, right? Then only you can correct them. And how do we do this? There's many ways. The easiest way to do it is to just acknowledge your child. So if your child is crying, you can hold your child and say, are you sad? And your child, or are you angry? And your child might say, yes, I'm sad. Then you take it from there. Versus saying, don't cry, don't be such a baby. No, how can you tell them that? If you do that, you're not teaching them how to manage that emotion. So,
I mean, just to add something here, I
sure.
don't know whether it's right or not, but I've realized what you've said, the last one, to connect. A physical connect with a child at a younger age is extremely important. They love to be touched, patted, hugged,
Absolutely.
kissed, and just kind of, when you're walking, just ruffling a hair, or just doing this to your daughter's hair. It may not mean much to us when we're doing it, but it stays with them.
Absolutely.
So that physical touch with a child is very treasured by children, I've realized.
Yes. Also, because Jyoti, the physical touch is a very concrete way of showing love, and that's why children can resonate with it.
Yeah.
Because when children are born, how else do you show love to children?
Correct.
You hold them, you embrace them. So that's the most concrete way of showing love, and that's why it's a great way of connecting. So sometimes when they're crying, just give them a hug and don't say
Yeah.
anything. It works,
Correct.
right? Actually, even with adults, sometimes when you're
True. You just need that hug. Correct.
you
You're
just want that hug. And actually, research says you can hug yourself. Try it. Hug yourself. It feels good.
I want both of you to hug me.
Right. Right. So look at this. I just want to show you an example. So this child drops a peel and mom says, look at what you did. You're such a pig. Pick up that banana, peel this instantly or you'll be sorry. What's happening? Blaming, shaming, and paining. Brain is going into threat mode. What's that child going to do? Anyone, what do you think that child's going to do?
just do it for now and get very upset about it.
Okay, right? Do it for now. Do it under the fear. But the next time the child sees a banana peel, the child might just walk away and not. The child didn't learn why she should pick up the peel. So let's show you an example, right? So what can you do instead with a child, right? When there's a banana peel on the floor. So what you can do first is give information. Susie, peel is on the floor. This is a great thing if you want to write it down. Okay, so the first is give the child information. The peel is on the floor. Simple sentences. Then it's easy to slip on the banana peel. It belongs in the garbage. So explain, make it a teaching moment. And then remember, we did the tool of the choices, right? So then offer a choice. You can throw it in a garbage bag in the kitchen or in the outside pail. And then it upsets me to see banana peels on the kitchen floor. I'm going to come to this tool where you talk about how you feel versus telling the child, God, you're wrong. How can you do this, right? I'm going to come to this tool. And finally, if the next time, if there's a peel, you don't have to go through the whole thing. You just tell the child, Susie, the peel, and the child knows why they have to pick up the peel and how to do it. And they even have a choice how to do it, right? So that's a great way. I know some parents would say, wow, that's really hard. Yes, it is. Parenting is not easy. It's easier to just scream and say, get that peel out.
Actually, you can do this the first time. Parenting, I think for me, what my experience so far has been that the patience of doing this whole thing, you do it once, you're done, then it's okay. But to get yourself to doing this whole thing, that's where we need the patience.
Absolutely. And you know what? Think about, I mean, you need that when you're parenting, you need those skills. It's the most important job in the world. And I will not stop emphasizing on that. So it always has to be a priority. Right. So how do we connect with children, right? So like Jyoti said, one of the best, easiest ways is just give them a hug. There you are. So give them a hug and that way you're already connecting. So for example, instead of telling your child, I've asked you 5 times to put your toys away, do it now. Well, I'm sure some of you are nodding your heads because you've done that before.
Right? Tidy up now.
It's not going to work. You're going to get into a power struggle. So say, okay, come here, buddy. I see your toys need to be put away. So you see the language. Don't blame the child. I see the toys are here. They need to be put away. So do you want to put them in by yourself or do you want me to help you? Give choices, okay, and connect. The other way to connect is acknowledge their feelings, right? So for example, You cannot grab things without asking her first, give that toy back. You know, so often we tell our children, come on, you got to share it with that friend of yours, or you have to give it back. Excuse me. How would you feel if I tell you, Jyoti, you got to share your clothes with your friend? You'll say, get lost. Why do we expect our children to want to do it so easily when we don't want to do it so easily? They're human beings, right? So connect with them. I can tell you really want to play with that toy and it's really cool. But can we have, then you can ask, can you just share it for like 5 minutes or can you share it tomorrow? At least let's get the thinking going.
Shareen, I think what we also do as parents more often is we get so involved in getting the day going and the months and the weeks going with the chores and the studies and the plays and play dates and, the rigmarole of life that we overlook the fact that the child is a living human being, that the child has the same set of feelings that we have. And we totally ignore that aspect. And then we just go ahead doing everything else, thinking we're doing a perfect job as a parent.
Absolutely. And when you realize
aspect is what we just ignore to accept.
Very
true. Till the power stage, as you say, comes in.
Very true. And that's why you realize when it's too late. I mean, I've had so many parents who just think of how they parented their kids and they have tears rolling down their eyes because it's very difficult to undo it when they are adults. So
I'd like to add here what my daughter tells me. She says, Ma, when I was small, did you attend any parenting workshops? So I said, I was too busy parenting. She says, you study for everything else. Did you study and do some parenting workshops? And I think it's a very valid question. And if I think about it, I think she will definitely learn something before she decides to have children of her own.
Yeah. Do you know in the Philippines, it is mandatory to do a workshop when you are pregnant before you have kids. And I think it's very good. See, what happens is when you have a parenting workshop, sometimes parents think, oh, I don't have any issues with my friend. Why should I attend this workshop? Yeah. No, I mean, you can have the perfect relationship with your kids, but you pick up one thing from a workshop, even just one. Yeah. It's life altering.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So this is what parents need to understand, that it's not about, you don't need to have special needs children, you don't need to have gifted children. You just need to attend these things because this is really coming out from all that wisdom out there. So yeah, and I would like to thank Poonam for this initiative that she's taken. She's invited me for a couple of parenting workshops and I love to share. So I think it's great. I mean, thank you for that, Poonam.
No, I think anything, like you rightly said, if we just take one thing from this, we are already one thing better.
Absolutely. And then the next way to connect is to say, I love you, right? So instead of saying, no, you cannot have ice cream before dinner, so stop asking, I love you. And the answer is no. Okay, just try that. It's easy. Okay, and never use I love you as a bribe. Never say I love you if you do this and I love you if you do that. It takes away. Use I love you. The next tool is teach emotions. Okay, I like to compare this with a doctor. So if you go to a doctor, until he doesn't know what is wrong with you, he can't treat you. And it's the same thing. We're human beings. It's okay for us to be angry. It's okay for us to feel pain. It's okay for us to feel worried. But we need to know how to handle that. So it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hit. Right? So how do we teach children these? Sometimes you just have to just listen to your children. Look at this. There's a child that comes and says, I made a rabbit in school and it broke. And the teacher and the parent says, that's nothing to cry about. It's only the year that's broken. Okay? You're not acknowledging your child's feeling. And still parents do that. And then the child says, I don't want a new rabbit. I want my old one. Sorry, the parent says, you can make a new rabbit. The child says, I don't want a new rabbit. I want my old rabbit. Okay, let's go on with this. The teacher gave us clay and I made a rabbit and it fell and the ear broke. So sometimes as a parent, Don't budgeon and give your children solutions.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to just listen, right? Just listen. Too often we're not listening. We're not active listeners. The minute someone's talking, we're already thinking, oh, what is my answer going to be? Oh, this is what I'm going to say. So stop. The next time after this workshop, when you're with your kids, just listen, right? So sometimes just saying a or an oh, okay, it's very comforting. Okay? So example, and now my rabbit has only 1 year, and the parent says, oh, you're connecting.
And most often in situations like this, the child will come with a solution on their own.
Yes, and that's the right thing.
Empowerment to come up with, solutions on their own.
Absolutely. And that's what's good, because that's getting them to that self-regulating thing, right? So sometimes it helps if you can name the feeling. So for example, the child says, I tried to glue it back, but it just kept falling off. Now, this is where you can tell the child, oh, that must have been frustrating. Try to name every emotion that you can.
Yeah.
Children need to know the names of emotions so that they can self-regulate. They know, when I'm feeling frustrated, this is what I can do. When I'm angry, this is what I can do. Okay?
So in fact, here, Shareen, I'd like to share that, my son taught me this feeling words. He, in fact, shared with me a whole list of 100 feeling words. He says, it's not okay to say, I'm okay. How are you feeling? I'm feeling fine, and I'm feeling okay is not a feeling. Okay and fine is not a feeling. And, that kind of, I never thought about it earlier. And this was a few years ago, but that really, showed me another way in which I could describe my feelings.
Brilliant. I love that, Poonam. Actually, you can share that list with everyone. It's one change, and it's a change for a lifetime. So the next time you ask your children, how are you? And they say, fine. Then you tell them, I'm happy. How are you feeling? And, just stick those lists on your fridge. You can take out, you don't need to use 100 emotions with young children. There's also Michelle Borba, who's a very good parenting coach, and she has a smaller list. I'll share it with Poonam. You can put up that as an initial list and make sure they know all those terms. I can't tell you how much using the words and the language helps them to emotionally regulate at a later stage. Right? So most children appreciate it when you give them in fantasy what they can't have in reality. This is also, I bet you wish you could say abracadabra and your rabbit would grow a whole new year. So instead of saying, don't cry, don't be at this, just an ear, I'll buy you one, connect with those children. Try and feel what they're feeling. That's what they want. They want your empathy, right? So these are the ways in which you can do it. The next tool is iMessages, which for me is one of the most powerful tools. I use this even with my spouse and my young adult children. So what are iMessages? Okay. So when you use iMessages, you are not blaming, you are not shaming, and you are not blaming. For example, how many times do people come and tell you, I told you this was going to happen. The minute you say, I told you, what are you doing?
Negating everything.
You're showing you're superior. So when you tell your daughter, see, I told you this would happen, you are showing that I am more superior to you. I told you. So stop the I told you. Stop the comparing, right? What do we do instead? Use iMessages. I feel sad when you leave your toys around because it just looks very cluttered. Can you please tidy up? Right? I feel iMessages are talking about how, and I have made a very conscious attempt to use this with my kids, and I think it really works, okay? Because you're not blaming them. So the iMessage tells the child how you feel about the behavior versus telling them, God, you're so dirty, or you're so messy, or you're so this. I feel upset when you keep your toys like this because they look messy. These times, okay? So make the shift. It really helps. And
I have a question here.
sure.
No, probably this is the stage where my kids sometimes are. I've tried that and it's worked till certain years. But now I sometimes hear, but I like my room like this.
Okay. Then are you being reasonable? Are you being reasonable by telling them? So, for example, if you tell your child, okay, for example, you tell your child, I am not happy because your room is not clean. Okay, so you tell your child, go and clean your room. And your child might say, I like the room like this. Are you being specific?
Yes, even if you are, let's tidy up because then we need to get it cleaned up. We need to vacuum the place, cannot do it till this is done, whatever the reason is. But a child says, I don't need it. I'm happy with the way things are. I don't need it to be cleaned up. It's clean enough.
Okay, so if the child says that, you use the tool of connecting. Okay, you go down and you tell your child, okay, so you think this is clean, right? You think this is clean, and your child will say yes. Okay, can you explain to me what's clean about it? Get them to think. So whenever you're trying to discipline, you're trying to get them away from the emotional brain to the thinking brain, right? So that's the good tool to use when children are being very defiant. They don't want to do what you're telling them to do, because maybe you have ordered, commanded, and directed. You have done that so much, so they feel threatened when you talk about cleaning the room. So every time you talk about cleaning the room, they say no. That's the defense.
Or probably they've made something like a Lego piece or a puzzle piece, and they don't want it to be packed up and put now.
Oh, absolutely. Please acknowledge children for that. When they make a beautiful Lego piece, it's their magical world. So in fact, take it and display it on your center table.
Correct. So you've done all that. You've done display, you've done pictures, you've done all the appreciation. However, now it's been months, okay? And that piece is right there. And you're making more and more and more and more pieces. As a result, it's just getting too many.
Okay.
But a child obviously is not ready to say, okay, much as you say encouragingly, you know what, when you create something new out of this, it will be even something more beautiful. So it'll be a new creation. Try doing that. So you've done all that stuff, but now you're at a stage where all the puzzles, like you're doing a 5,000 piece puzzle, you can't keep having them all over the place.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
Okay. So then you gotta be an authoritative parent. So you firm and loving, right? So if it's getting really beyond the boundaries, what you can do is you tell them, right, okay, we have limited space for this. So would you like to display this here? Or would you like to take your new toy, put that here and pack this up?
Yes.
You give them a choice. Try and use those two. You give them a choice, or you acknowledge and try to go to find out what is happening in their mind. So if you actually try and print out these tools and actually try and use them when you have a situation, you'll see how one of them works. Okay, then the next tool is, we've got 4 more tools to go. The next tool is using positive language, right? Especially with young children, use short sentences, and I think this everyone knows. Use positive language. So don't tell them, don't run, because the brain is not going to register the don't. I mean, if all of you close your eyes for a minute, and if I say, don't think of a big, fat, pink elephant. Don't think of a pink elephant. You open your eyes, and what did you think of?
Only pink elephant.
Only pink elephant. So don't use negative language. Try and use positive language all the time. And we have an exercise on the next slide, I think. So let's practice that. So for example, if you finish your lunch, if you don't finish your lunch, we're not going to the park. How can you say this positively? I'm happy for anyone to answer this. It's good practice. Jyoti, you wanted to do the first one?
I would say the sooner you finish your lunch, the sooner we can go to the park.
Absolutely. Great. Okay, that's great. That's positive, right? What about this? For the last time, come here right now.
I don't know another one for this.
Anybody else? Try and use the tools that we have used. Try and use one of the tools so far.
come find me, let's do hide and seek, and then let the child come and look for you.
Yes. Yeah,
You know, it's
absolutely.
easier said, Shareen. Sometimes you're at the end of your patience and then you say, right now.
Use choices. You know what? Do you want to walk here? Do you want me to come and get you? Choices is a very strong tool, especially with young
Yeah.
kids, right? Don't slam the door.
Oh.
Don't slam the door. We say it all the time. I still say it to my kids. It just doesn't work. The door gets slammed.
Yeah, but sometimes I've tried using humor, okay, and they get it. As they grow, they get it. Did you lose your door stopper? I had it right on that book rack, and my son knows why I said that.
Yeah, they are smart. So you just be consistent. Okay. So just continuously say, close the door gently. And you know what? Use a Japanese method. I actually, with my 17-year-old, I don't know why she likes to bang the door. I just bang, she blames the wind. And I actually tell her, this is how you close the door. So if it doesn't work with words, use a Japanese method of showing them how to do it. Okay. The next one, stop throwing a fit. I'll put the toy in the trash. Imagine the child is throwing a fit. So what would you say?
I would just let them kind of let loose. Just do whatever you want to do. Finish, just watch them calmly and then have a chat. Because when they're in that state, nothing is going to work. Either you hug them or you just let them just vent out.
Right.
I mean, that's what I've done always.
Great. So you can connect with a hug or acknowledge the feeling. Okay,
Yeah.
I know you're feeling sad.
Yes.
I know you're feeling upset. Use one of those. I know you're feeling sad, or I know you're feeling upset about this. Okay. And then you can say, would you just like a hug till you feel better? So you don't talk about the toy right now. You just address the emotion. Right? Great. And then I told you, you can't have Cheerios for breakfast because you don't have any. Don't ask again. Well, a lot of parents have done this. What can you say instead?
I wouldn't say we don't have it and don't have the Cheerios. And as you say, we have this and just not talk about Cheerios. Since you don't have Cheerios, why you want to bring it up?
Yeah. So great. You can either do that, or you can say, you can acknowledge again the child. I hear you want Cheerios, but today we have this or this, and we can have it now. Right? So acknowledge, give choices. So you can use all of those in common.
So Shareen, we have two questions at the moment.
Sure.
One of them, Komal asks, when the kids shows tantrums, then how should we handle the situation? Should we ignore them?
Okay. So by the way, I built one whole workshop only on tantrums. Okay. That's such a big topic. So a tantrum is like a wave, right? So remember that, when you, let me just try and explain it. Yeah. So when you have a wave of water, okay, when that wave is going up there, and if you put your hand in, that water is going to splash everywhere. So that's what the anatomy of a tantrum is. It has to go up and come down. So let the tantrum finish and then you address it. Yeah. Right. That was a question. And the other question?
The other question is, how do we deal with toddlers who like to bite?
Who like to bite? Bite. Okay, so biting is, remember, all behavior is communication. Your toddler is not biting because he wants to take some revenge on you. No, children don't have that moralism till the age of 6 or 7. So don't think your children are trying to harm you. They don't even know that they don't have that thinking yet. Biting is communicating behavior. Yeah. Has somebody else bitten that child? Even for fun. If you say, let me bite you, it's gumma, so it's thing. If you're doing that, you're teaching your child it's okay to bite. When is the child biting? Is the child teething? Okay, so you've got to look at health conditions. You've got to look at the development. Is the child, does he have some itchy thing? And if he's at that age where he's teething, then biting could be just a lack of oral stimulation. Biting, which comes just at a particular time when the child is angry or something, is communicating. The child is looking for some attention. Because when the child bites, what you tend to do is you say, stop biting, right? And what are you doing at that time? You're giving the child attention. To a young child, they can't differentiate between positive and negative attention. Attention is attention. So there's a lot of, but biting is a very common thing. So if your child is a toddler, biting is very common. And because of the developmental stage, because children are learning to communicate, they don't know what to say, they bite because they don't know how to tell you, give me that attention, give me that hug, right? So there could be a lot of different things. I'm happy to answer your question in more detail if you can email me and tell me when exactly your child is biting. Does it have a pattern or is it just happening randomly? I'm happy to answer that on an email.
Right. Right. There's another question. Somebody's written, my 2-year-old son is scared in the night and doesn't want me to be away for just even a step away for a minute.
Okay. You might have scared your child at some point. Okay. You might have said, I don't know. Again, this is a question where I need background information. The child is scared because the child is scared and the child doesn't want to let the mom go, right? So is that the question?
Yes,
the child is scared and doesn't want the mother to step away from the child.
yeah, this is Komal. So I asked this question because in the evening and in the night, if I go even a single step away, so he doesn't want me to leave. So I think not in the whole day, but only in the evenings and in the night. So
Okay.
he's scared in the evening and night when it is dark.
Okay. So it could be that, I don't know if you've ever scared your child and said, have you ever scared your child about the dark? Have you ever left your child alone in the dark that has scared him? Has there been any incident?
Not with the dark, but sometimes the spider. He's scared of spider, but not
Okay.
any time I remember with the darkness or anything like that.
So there you go. If he saw the spider in the night, to that child in his brain, the spider in night is a fear, right? It's a fear built in. And that's why he just wants your attention. There's nothing wrong in that. Okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong in that. In fact, just acknowledge it. How old is your child?
He's about to be 2.
Okay, very young child, can't communicate yet. So you would just continue to just make him feel comfortable. And at another time, you can, in the afternoon, if you see a spider, you can actually uncondition that in his brain. So now his brain is preconditioned spider in the night, I'm scared. So that's why I want to hold on to mom, right? So you can uncondition that by showing the spider and showing that it's not going to harm the child.
Yeah. Sometimes it's very difficult, and I'll give you a personal example. I'm petrified of lizards. Petrified is not even the word. And my children have seen that. And I just can't help it. We've been in a situation where there was a lizard and I jumped and I pounced and I ran away. And it happened like twice and they've seen and they know. So my son actually brings this fake one and throws it at me at times or puts it under my pillow to prank and whatever. But at the same time, I do see somewhere my kids may develop that fear as well. Because we were holidaying in Koh Samui and my daughter was in the washroom and there was a baby lizard and she did not poop. Okay. And after that, for that 1 week we were there, I took her to all different washrooms in the hotel, in the resort, that she may poop. Eventually, the last day we had to take her to the hospital because we were flying back. She did not poop. The moment we reached back to Jakarta, she pooped in the comfort of her own house. But I felt that my fear has transcended down to her, and I don't know how to take that away.
Okay, right. So talk about it. Like I'm very scared of the water. I don't like going to swimming pools, and I don't like the oceans. I'm just scared because as a child, someone pushed me into a pool, and I almost drowned. Right. So I've got this fear. So what I did with my kids was at a very young age, I never spoke about my fear, but I put them into the pool. Right. So what you can do with your children, you can make it a very funny, silly thing. You can actually say, mom, acknowledge your feelings. Mom is scared of lizards. And did you have any experience as a child?
Yeah, a few.
Okay, so you talk about that and then you address it. So you tell them what your fear is. Explain, rationalize.
I did that. I've done that. That's the part of, the stories you tell about your growing years when you were speaking with children different times. Correct. So one of the stories, so they know what was the first incident, what was the second incident. They know that.
Yes.
However, it happened. It happened when she was 6 and now she's 8. They've been to a lot of, so to say, zoos and safaris where the school treks and the kids are all holding those big, huge python in their hands and stuff. They're okay with that. But when it came to watching that little baby lizard, we went through this incident, and I somewhere do hold myself responsible for it that,
Okay, what you can do, Jyoti, is, again, you have to sometimes, this is the conditioning in their brain and your brain. So just try it. The next time you see a lizard, try not to react. Just close your eyes and walk away. Really try it. Really try it, because what's happening is, you're right. She is in some way picking it up because of those mirror neurons, right? Your children just become you. So just try it the next time and tell them, I'm going to try not to have this fear. I'm going to try and be brave in front of a lizard. Make it a teaching moment. Say, I've decided now the next time I see a lizard, I'm going to try and be brave and actually just turn away, or just try it and see if that works. Okay. You take a deep breath and do it. Right. So I'm going to go back to the tools so that we finish on time. The 7th tool is enforceable statements. And enforceable statements are, I'll give you an example. So instead of saying, don't talk to me in that tone, okay, you tell the child, I'll listen, when your voice is as calm as mine. So in an enforceable statement, you're actually telling them what you will allow when something is done. So after you clean up your room, we can do this. Okay. So I'll give you another example. It's a little different from a bribe. So when we use enforceable statements, instead we tell the kids what we will allow. We can watch movie as soon as you've tidied up your toys. You can play with the iPad as soon as you've finished your ice cream, right? That's an enforceable statement. No ifs, no threat, because threat is going to go and get your brain into that 3F. So let's try this.
What's the right age to teach them new languages? Komal has asked a question.
Oh, as young as possible, from the beginning, 0 to 6 is the best time to teach languages, because the children go through what we call the sensitive period for languages.
Correct.
Right? So 0 to 6 is the best. Right. So
0 to 6, you mean month or year?
Year.
What?
0 from birth to the age of 6 is the best. This is why when you don't consciously teach somebody a mother tongue, but the child is just hearing it, they just pick it up.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the best. It takes a lot more effort to teach it later. And that's why now preschools have a foreign language. In our days, preschools never had a foreign language. So I don't think we're such linguists, but now they do. And children are speaking in a lot more different languages now. Right. Can we try this one? If you pick up your toys, you can watch TV. That's a bribe. How do you change that to an enforceable statement?
Is it me who's supposed to answer? Anybody else who wants to answer?
Anyone else?
TV time is waiting. The sooner you pick up your toys. That's
okay.
a bribe again.
Yeah, you can. I turn on the TV as soon as there are no toys on the floor, as soon as you pick up your toys, whatever the action is, right? Perfect. So try and keep that also in mind. The next tool is consequences. Okay, there are 2 kinds of consequences that we can give children. One is natural and one is logical, right? So natural consequences are, the toy broke, so well, you can't play with it anymore. So bring it to a child's attention when there is something with a natural consequence. Now, logical consequences is what is very important, okay? Now, it's arranged by parents. Now, not having clean clothes to wear is a logical consequence of not putting the clothes in the hamper. So when you have a logical consequence, be careful. Don't say because you didn't put the clothes in the laundry basket, you can't go and play with your friend. No connection.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever you're giving a logical consequence, make sure you are teaching, right? So you don't have clean clothes because you did not put it in the hamper. You're teaching the child that next time, remember to put your clothes into the hamper. Okay, that's very important about consequences. Ninth tool is positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is just reinforcing the behavior that you like in your children. So if they're being confident, you can say, wow, I love the way you spoke so well. If they've helped you with something, I'm so proud of the way you helped me make that sandwich. And go and be specific. Also, reinforce virtues in the child. You know, if the child finds a little ant or is being, say, my God, you're being so empathetic, and use the right words. Please use the right language with your children because they're so fast and they will pick up those right language. So the other ways to positively reinforce is just giving them a high five, offering praise, giving them hugs, giving them thumbs up, clapping and cheering, and talk about your children in front of others.
Yes.
Right? Talk about them and make them feel proud. Right? It's a very nice feeling. You like to hear good things about yourself. So do the children. So catch them being good. And I tell my parents every day, acknowledge your children for one thing that they do. Every day. Just find the good in them. You know what? When you do that, these children are going to grow up and they're going to be they're not going to be judgmental kids. They're going to learn to see the good in others.
Yeah, true. Absolutely true.
So, what kind of behaviors can we reinforce? Manners. So, if a child has had manners to leave her plate in the kitchen, say, I really appreciate the way you always leave your plate in the kitchen, right? If your child is playing quietly, I appreciate the way you respect everyone's silence. Just things like this can be acknowledged. If they have waited for the food to come on the table, well, acknowledge that as well. Thanks for your patience. They're playing nicely with a sibling. Catch that moment and acknowledge it. You know, I love the way both of you are playing so cooperatively. Use those words so that they understand, oh, right, I'm a cooperative child, right? If they obey, if they comply with you, acknowledge it. When children are really trying hard to do something, acknowledge it. So find these kind of ways to acknowledge. This is just something I found on the internet. Brag bracelets, just fun things to do with your young kids. Just make these little bracelets and keep them. And as and when you see them doing it, you say, wow, today you've been really kind. So you put on that bracelet. And you can even do it with dad and mom. Today, dad has been very confident. So what you're doing is you're getting your children to also observe these positive behaviors in other people, right? So one way is to do the brag, and the other one is to, as a family, you have jars. So say this month, I really want my children to learn about kindness. I will just keep a kindness jar. And every time I say the maid has done something kind or someone else has done something kind, write it down and put it in there. And at the end of the month, open the jar and look at all the kind things we did. This is actually from the character education that we do. So you can do one of these at home and it works really well.
It works very well.
Yes.
A friend of mine used to put little notes of appreciation for a child in a tiffin box when they used to go to school.
Yes.
Little notes of appreciation. And I
Lovely.
thought that was so sweet.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, a love language, you know, the words of appreciation.
I think it works very well. I did that when the kids were going to regular school. And at times on purpose, I would just slip it and not send one day. And the kids would come back and say, but there was no note today and I was looking for it. And it was lovely when we were wrapping up and coming over to India. The kids were so happy to bring that and put it in a box. I need to take this with me. So they treasure those things just the way we do. And, you know, I think that's very nice because similar to us, they have feelings. And that's where I feel we sometimes overlook their feelings.
They're just as human as we are. And when we realize that, see, you can only have all this control. You think, some parents think they can use their control. But if you use your control at 18, 19, 20, your child will come back and use that control on you, and you can't say a thing then, right?
Maybe earlier than 18, 19, but yes, if you love them, and I think there are two things which I personally feel, and for me, which are takeaway is that connect. That connect has to be there.
Absolutely.
That connect is the only thing which is going to bring them back after they leave home and they have their wings. That's the only reason they'll visit you, is with that connect. That's one thing. Second thing, choices. I've known this, but I do tend to forget it. So I need to revisit it.
No, absolutely. That's why when you use these kind of tools, it's very easy. These tools are discipline tools, right? So when you use these kind of tools, you're not damaging, you're respecting, you're being firm and loving, and yet you're doing things in a way that is not taking away their self-esteem. You are reinforcing the positive behavior. You're actually filling up those buckets which human beings need, you know, power and attention.
Absolutely true. Absolutely.
Right. And the last tool, the final tool, is consistency, right? So a lot of parents say, God, it's so hard. We read, we learn, but it's so hard. Yes, it is hard. It's not easy. But you know what? You have a task of raising children. So enjoy that task, learn as much as you can. And remember, you have the Zen. You are the Zen parent. You know what will work best. So be kind and firm, and it takes at least 21 days to build a habit, right? So be firm and say what you mean. Always speak in a quiet voice. I feel we have this tendency to just raise our voices at every little thing that happens, and we really need to come back. The hardest thing to do, but we really need to come back and make eye contact while speaking. Whatever you're doing, any of the tools you're using, please don't be using your phone and talking to your children. It's the worst thing. There's no connect, right? Keep schedules consistent. Whatever you're doing with them, children need schedules and they need consistency.
Correct.
They need, because that's giving structure to their brain. And talk about any changes to your child. Talk. If it's about you or your child, talk about it. Don't just say, no, it's okay. No, it's okay shouldn't be used, right? Address everything that you can address. Be consistent, and be consistent. So I think the most important thing in parenting is consistency. When you use it, it just becomes a part of you. When you start giving choices, then you don't have to make this conscious attempt. It just becomes automatic. So that's what we need to try and do. I actually printed out all these parenting tools in one of the workshops when I did it physically, and I gave it to parents and I said, put it in your handbag so that you remember. And I'm happy to share the printout with Poonam and she can email it. They're small little ones with the tools, and you can just print them and either stick them or put them in your handbag so that you're reminding yourself to use the tool.
And also, Shareen, at any point of time, if you share some good parenting books, that's a question which Komal has, and I'm sure a lot of viewers who are watching will have any, nice list of good books that as young or whatever age of parents you are, your kids are at whatever age, you would still want to go back and revisit. That would be a big help.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to add one more thing to your 10. Be honest. I don't know. I have felt that as a parent, I've just not had any other experience in this last 8 years, but I just feel you have to be very honest to your kids.
Yeah.
Because they can see through when you are lying.
Yeah.
And they will pick it up.
And also when you lie, you're going to have a ripple.
Yes.
So one lie, you're going to have many other lies to cover that. So don't bother.
Even if my kids were 3 and I was going out for dinner after they sleep, I have always told them that I'm going to be going out for 2 hours. I'll be back and I'll come back into the bed and hug you.
Yes.
But I'm going to be going, and there is somebody who's there to look after you. She's going to be here or whatever. So I've never said, no, I'm in the house, but I'm actually not. So I have felt that you have to be very honest with your kids.
Yeah, that's a great thing you brought up, because if you lie to your kids and your child wakes up in the middle of the night and you are not there, then you've got a whole trust issue. Yes. And that trust issue is going to be deep in that iceberg. To fix it is going to be very hard. So yes, definitely. Right. So the other thing is solve your own co-parenting conflict. We have a lot of moms and dads who have different parenting styles, different ways of doing things, and please do not fight in front of the kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Just make sure that either, I mean, if both of you are equally dominant in parenting, then great. Get on the same page and decide what you want for your child. Because if you don't do this, you're going to end up having manipulative kids who are going to know, okay, I know this I can do with mom. And then when I don't want this, I can do this with dad. And that's the worst thing ever.
That's the worst. Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And you have to be on the same page.
Yes, you need to be on the same page while doing this.
Yes.
So it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. And I really like this quote. And before I end, there's just 2 more slides. The most effective discipline strategies are those that proactively prepare a child so the parent doesn't have to reactively respond. So the reason it's good to use these tools is so that you are aware of how to respond versus just reacting to the situation and then having to undo. It's harder to undo and reteach.
Yes.
So as parents, fill your toolbox with as many tools as you can so that when something happens, you know, okay, right, let me use this tool here. And that, of course, use your gut to use it. Right. What I'd really like you to do, if I'm not sure how Poonam has been communicating with all of you, but if you can put your key takeaway on an email and send it to Poonam, I think it will be very good. Either you can unmute and share, or Poonam, whatever you prefer. If you prefer them to email your key takeaway, then maybe
so, yeah. So this is great. I have everybody's email IDs because if you've registered, so I can just send you the list from Shareen to you, and do send us feedback on what you thought of this event and what were your key takeaways, and if you'd like to see more of such events happening.
Absolutely.
So, dear mommy and daddy, teach me and I will learn. You are your child's champion. You know, I'm telling you, even my daughter is 20 and she just went back to London. And before she went, I was having a talk with her. And she actually thanked me and said, thanks for that talk. It's just given me a new perspective. So don't assume your children know everything. You have more wisdom than your children. So take the time out to give it to them. And before I just end, I'd like to say I'm actually starting some parenting classes next week. The class for next week is already full, but I will be doing a Saturday class as well. So these are 10 sessions where you will learn not just tips about parenting, but actual skills. It follows a whole curriculum from Breakthrough Parenting in the US. So if anyone is interested for more information, do send me an email. And I'm happy to share all the information for the class.
Right? Thank you so much, Shareen. It's so enlightening to listen to you.
Thank you, and thank you, Poonam, as well. And thank you to all the participants for being here. We always need an audience, right? So,
that's true, but at the same time, you know, a lot of things are something we've known, but we just tend to overlook in our everyday routine. And it's always great to have that little bell ring to say, okay, maybe you need to revisit. And, you know, as you say, there's always learning. And for me, takeaways, I've already shared with you. There's always something you can take away from your event. So thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge, and definitely looking forward to some more sessions with you.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Shareen. That was really useful, I think, for each one of us.
Yeah.
And I know that you plan to do a mindful child session with us soon.
Yeah.
And which is all about, you know, helping your child be more mindful, which I think is, if we start young, this is a great learning. So thank you, everyone. I will be in touch with all of you. Thank you so much, Jyoti, for being a wonderful facilitator.
Pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Jyoti, and thank you, Poonam, and thank you, everyone else.
Thanks, Shareen. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very